we'll get 3 points. You said I felt relieved. I was more than relieved because with 4 minutes to go, I'd actually said, you know what, blow the whistle. You know, because I thought Klopp had got lucky actually. You know, he made the changes, bringing Fabinho on and Origi on and taking off Henderson and Milner, and I thought that was a huge gamble because they almost lost the game because of that. In the end, they win it. So you can say, on the one hand, that his substitutes turned out well because they won. But actually, I think he got lucky with the changes he made.
Do you know the Origi one? Again, when he came on, he went on the left-hand side. Do you know, and here's a guy who, if Liverpool... One thing Liverpool do particularly well, and they did it in the first half, mainly through Robertson, but also Trent Alexander-Arnold, when Tottenham got to a back three, which became a back five because the full-backs, wing-backs were pushed back, they get good delivery into the box, like the goal for Firmino. So when you bring Origi on, he's a big old lump. But he's out on the left-hand side, and so you want him in the box for good delivery in. So in some way, that was a little bit strange. But think about it. You know, Pochettino changed the shape of the team to try and suit his personnel because he had no Winks, he had no Dyer. Stevie mentioned Wanyama late in the week, whether he might play or not, but he got no mobility. So he changed to get those three guys in the middle, and it clearly wasn't working. And in the second half, he tucked Rose in a little bit, and Vertonghen went more to kind of left back, and he got an extra body in the middle of the park, and they started to dominate. And when you see the chances Tottenham created in the second half, it's only down to the fact that, you know, Sissoko has got no confidence in front of goal, he's playing well, that actually Liverpool were able to go on and win the game, because I thought Spurs were going to go on and win it, and as you said, take your point and run.
We'll talk about the significance of this result for Spurs and their chase for the top four in a moment, but let's focus a little bit more on Liverpool, and in particular Mohamed Salah, who said there are so many players with the same number of goals as me, and they are having the best season of their life, and I'm supposed to be having a bad season. I suppose the problem is when you set the bar as high as he did last year, this was at exactly the same stage last year, 35 goals down to 20 this season. And it's interesting watching him, Steve, because obviously you watch him more intensely than you would because of what he achieved last year. He looks like almost a different player.
Well, his head's gone. Basically, a strike at goal that's going to be on target. It's a complete and utter gamble. He's not sure what to do. He's completely lost his composure, as it says. He has a swing at it, is all he does, and it goes 10 yards over the bar. Now, his head has gone. And he shouldn't say he's had a bad season, because he hasn't had a bad season.
Right.
He's a bad second part of the season. As good as he was in the first part of the season, he's been as bad in the second.
If you'd said he scored the amount of goals he would last year, nobody would have believed it. If you'd have said he's got, I think, 20 in all comps now this year, you'd have said, all right, we'll take that. So his goal-scoring return is, for the position he plays, is actually very good. But there's no doubt he's not playing well. And when you start talking about what others are doing, then, as Stevie said, it's getting in your head, right? And when it starts getting in your head, it starts affecting your performance. It starts affecting how you train midweek, because you're thinking about it. Instead of just saying, you know, well, you know, we're top of the league. If he's asked a question, we're top of the league, part of a great team, and I'll be back amongst the goals, you know, shortly or whatever. But it's not necessarily that side of the game that's letting him down. It's everything that's breaking down off him that wasn't breaking down off him last year.
When he goes through now, the first thing in your head is he's not scoring.
No, correct.
I was praying he would pass the ball to Mane.
In that
I was
attack.
praying, because I thought, if he doesn't pass it, is he going on the back of the net?
Despite Salah, obviously Liverpool get the win.
Seems terrible.
It's strange we're focused on that, but it is a point worth bringing up. But you take a look at the run-in, and that was without doubt one of Liverpool's hardest games between now and the end of the season. The other one that stands out really is Chelsea, isn't it, at Anfield. Are you all right, Stevie, despite the fact Liverpool, obviously, they weren't that convincing against Fulham when they got the win a couple of weeks ago, but with the rest of those fixtures, you couldn't ask, really, for a much better run-in, could you?
No, you couldn't, other than the obvious Chelsea, but the worrying thing I have right now thinking about Liverpool is where the goals are going to come from. You know, the way Liverpool is set up, Klopp's best three in the middle of the park are there to be workers, basically. They're not there to play fancy passes through defences and score goals. They're there to get the ball to the front three. And when you have a situation right now where you've basically got a front two, and that's Firmino and Mane, then Sane, then you're down to two players that you think are going to put the ball in the back of the net. And you look across to Manchester City, who have got an abundance of players who can put the ball in the back of the net. And I've always said that's the difference for me right now, why City will win it and Liverpool won't.
And I think City are playing, I think I heard somebody say, at least 5 of these games are going to be played ahead of Liverpool. You know, we've talked about that before. So played either the day before or 48 hours before. So there's going to be a lot of the next few weeks where Liverpool will know exactly what scenario they're in, whether it's going to give them an even bigger lead or whether it's going to mean if they don't win, they're going to be in second place going into the following weekend. Two of the things you really don't want when you're in your run-in is playing teams at the top, and as strange as this may seem, teams at the bottom.
Right.
You want to get as many as you can who are mid-table and are already on the plane for their holidays. They've obviously got Chelsea, and then the other two, I think, certainly Cardiff City, who showed some fighting qualities today, and we'll get to them in a bit, is Southampton, who are fighting for their life, but look as if they're going to be okay, but no guarantees. And I think Newcastle are going to be okay, but I don't think there's any guarantees as yet. And of course, that's Rafa Benitez, who's the former Liverpool manager. So there's a few storylines in there where... And the reason for that is because when you're playing teams at the bottom, it's horrible down there. And they'll just scrap and fight. They're fighting for the career. Sure. Basically, they're fighting for the career. And that sometimes can be a problem for the bigger teams.
As you mentioned, Cardiff very much fighting for their lives at the moment. They took on Chelsea in the earlier game today. Strange lineup that Sarri went with. No Hazard, no Hudson-Odoi.
Well, we knew that.
As well, yesterday. Cardiff, though, do have a game in hand. Let's hear now from Neil Warnock, who first talked about that argument he had with Sarri on the touchline.
He was moaning about a bloody throwing or something. I said, Sarri, do you not know he's 2 yards offside? Bloody hell, you should be patting him on the back. Not complaining about a throw-in. He didn't realise they were offside, he said. If anybody was in doubt before today, I think VAR has got to be the answer, hasn't it, to help them out? Because they need help, don't they, really? VAR would have sorted the goal out within seconds. Wouldn't have took more than 10 seconds to sort out. When somebody's, you know, as I've just said there, you know, we've worked on things for the last 3 weeks, and one of them's coming out at corner kicks and leaving a man in. And the lads have just said, what do we do now, Gaffer? What's the point? You've got to hope that linesman can see it. It's soul destroying, really. And, you know, tonight is a... I can understand all the lads being down because we played so well.
It's not as if the assistant had to keep up with play because it was a set piece. You know, but he is right in that sense. I mean, they're playing for, I don't know, the TV money. The revenue in England now is astronomical. I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions for clubs, and relegation is problematic for a lot of clubs who pay bigger salaries to players when they get to the Premier League to try and stay in the Premier League. And then you're going to have mistakes, but when you have so many horrendous mistakes, that potentially, when you pile them up at the end of the season, mean dropping to the Championship, that can cause huge financial grief. They should have had 2 penalties. The sending off, yellow or red, is arguable. I think it's probably right. And the offside goal was just absolutely horrendous. I mean, I don't think I've seen as many poor decisions in one game, in a top-level game. You might see one, arguably see 2. We've probably seen 3 or 4 there, at least, minimum.
At the other end of the table, of course, a big win for Chelsea and their aspirations to finish in the top 4 to guarantee Champions League football next season. 1 point separates 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. It's incredible. And really, the big talking point is Spurs, who were so far away. Like, just 5 or 6 weeks ago, we were talking about them as title contenders. But that run of form that they've been on has been so disappointing. It's dragged them very much back in to this top 4. You take a look at their last 5 Premier League games. They haven't won any of them. They've lost 4 of them. They've dropped 14 points. But
I think they showed today at Liverpool, even with injuries, I think they are still probably the best of the rest. Right?
That's it.
And I think even though they dropped points today, they showed that. I think when you look at Chelsea, in comparison, it's clueless. I mean, he's still playing Jorginho. You know, got Ruben Loftus-Cheek comes off the bench. I've talked about changing the dynamic for them. He should be playing. Hudson-Odoi was a star for England. He doesn't even get on. Now, there'll be some that say, well, what does it matter? Chelsea won. Chelsea were lucky.
Right.
Chelsea were lucky. Spurs, you might say, were a little unlucky. So I wouldn't be over... I mean, obviously, it's concertina now. But in terms of the way they're playing, I wouldn't be overly concerned.
How concerned would you if you were Spurs at the moment, Stevie?
Listen, they'll be concerned. They're 1 and 5, so there's no way they're going to be sitting there thinking, oh, well, we're better. Listen, they're better than United, Arsenal and Chelsea. But I'm sure they're not sitting going, well, we don't need to worry because we're better than them. But the fact is that I think 6 of the 7 games are against teams in the lower half of the league that I expect them to win. I think they play City. That's the only big game they have. So as far as the games to go, they're good enough to win 6 of those 7.
Right.
Probably won't beat City.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be fine. I don't trust Chelsea. No. You don't know what you're going to get.
Arsenal are playing Newcastle tomorrow. That's the game.
They could go to third tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? What's the hazard? I don't know. Was it the international football leading Hazard on the bench? You know, Man United. We know
nobody knows.
Well, he said before. He said it was because of the number of games he's played recently.
And Kante on the bench. Did you know still plays? No, just
same thing.
Here's the thing, by the way. So Chelsea, I assume, want to be in the top 4, and he's turning around and trying to use the number of games recently. Are you having a laugh? They've got 8 games to go.
Well, Europa League as well, Stephen.
All right. 10 or 11 games to go, so what? You should be able to play the last 10 or 11 games. I don't care who you are. Right. I don't care how many games you've had this season. This is the business end of the season. You put out your best 11 or whatever you think is the best 11 to win every single game between now and the end of the season. You don't try and be clever and leave your best player out. Just complete and utter madness. And that might be the reason why, because of this guy, they don't get in the top 4. Because player for player, I think they're better than Arsenal and Man United.
Yeah. They are, but I mean, if Unai Emery drags this Arsenal squad into the top 4, it's a hell of a job.
Right.
I mean, that's a heck of a job. And I know people who say, well, you guys criticised Arsene Wenger for getting top 4. But that's different. He built the base. It was his team. Spent whatever money, he decided who got new contracts. Emery's just in the door. He's trying to clean up that last few years of a little bit of a mess, certainly in the league. If he does that would be unbelievable. But I tell you what, I think the Chelsea fans were singing about sorry before they actually won the game.
And you don't know what you're doing was chanted as he made those substitutions as well.
I mean, the whole thing there, he has to either do something dramatic towards the end of the season, Maurizio Sarri, or he has to win the Europa League to get in the Champions League, or he is 100% gone.
They've got Brighton midweek, and of course, as we mentioned, it is Arsenal against Newcastle tomorrow. We'll be looking back at that game on our next show. Out. He had a lot to say. As things stand today, for the way he behaved, he has to stay out and the others have to play. It is clear for everyone to see what happened and how events unfolded. I think he could have played 20 to 30 minutes, even half a game, but that's not the point. Negotiating with someone just to get him to pull on the Inter shirt, what do I need to? To email 20 lawyers and ask them if I can call someone up? Inter lost worse games than this with Icardi. Messi makes a difference, not Icardi, with all due respect. I've left players out for far less in my time. You must have respect and behave in the locker room. The coach must be credible and recognised as someone who will do the right thing. Let's find an Inter fan and ask him. We'd have to go outside for that, mind you, and ask him if he likes a player negotiating to pull on the Inter shirt. This is the first time, really, we've heard properly, isn't it, Matteo, from Spalletti on the whole Icardi situation?
All the tension from the last few months have just come bubbling out because of the defeat, obviously, but this has to do so much with how the players right now, from what I've heard inside the dressing room, a lot of the players are just not having Mauro Icardi. With the way that his wife and manager, Wanda Nara, came out and attacked the players on national television, and her husband, Icardi, is letting her do that, saying, you're not passing to my husband enough, the right crosses aren't coming in. How are the players supposed to feel? So it's going to be difficult, and to me, it was a fractured relationship, and that's why I think Icardi this summer, I think he's going to split ways. And this is just the awkward stage now where he's ready to play. Obviously, he's healthy. The injury set he has turned out to be complete shambles. And it's going to take a lot more doing for both parties to get on the same page. I personally don't think it's going to happen at this point. I feel like too much has gone by. There's been too many awkward moments. The stripping of the captaincy. Icardi saying he refuses to train with the club. Are you kidding me? You're still one of the highest paid players in the league, and this is happening at the midway point of the season that you're asking for more money now. It's an unbelievable situation. One of the biggest names in Italy, the biggest name for Inter, who's been the focal point of their attack for the last 4 seasons. To me, I understand there's a camp against Spalletti and for Spalletti. I agree with most of the things he's saying. I don't see it as big of a problem to leave him out, given how fractured that locker room is right now. With Brozovic and Perisic especially, there's been reports of that relationship with them and Icardi completely going separate ways.
It doesn't matter if anybody's with Spalletti or against Spalletti, whether you want him sacked or stayed, good coach, bad coach. You change the coaches, the problem exists. It doesn't go away because the dressing room, as you said, is fractured. It doesn't like what it's saying. So Icardi's a problem. Inter Milan are bigger, like most big clubs, bigger than any individual. They've got to get rid of this guy, right? And they can't get rid of him to the summer, right? You can't have this poisonous relationship around the dressing room. The dressing room is the most important thing in the game. What happens in the dressing room, it fosters the whole atmosphere about what you take onto the field. You can't have him around the dressing room. You can't sell him to the summer. So if they had anything about them, they would ban him from the club. Keep him away until... Now, I know might have financial connotations, but that's something they have to weigh up what they want to do. Because clearly you can't have somebody like that, Stevie, around the dressing room, because it is just going to make the disease even worse.
Bad apple, isn't it?
Bad apple.
Bad apple in the barrel spoils a lot. That's exactly what's happening.
I can't think of an incident like this before, where the man, the face of the club, has turned his back in this way.
The trouble is, who else... You know, you're now talking about a transfer fee that's going down the way. You're now talking about big clubs who might have thought, oh, I want that. Yeah, I really could do with a really good striker, and I think I like Icardi. I've always said I liked him. But what problems is he going to bring to my football club? If he infests our dressing room like he's doing with the Inter Milan one, what am I getting from my money?
And I think the main thing that Spalletti's trying to drive home is the respect aspect, right? The integrity of the club, the fact that he said, and even at Rome, I mean, he's someone that has put Francesco Totti, who's seen as the gladiator of Rome, on the bench. So he's not afraid to make decisions that will anger the fan base, that will, you know, send shockwaves through the footballing world, and he's done just that yet again. But it all has to do with respect, with integrity, the fact that if he lets Icardi back based on the disrespect that he felt he's been getting as a coach, then what would it say to the players? That you can do just whatever you want, you can walk out on the team like this, few months, say, I'm not training, and then waltz your way back in and play for 20 minutes? I agree with Spalletti for the most part.
Fans are not going to back Icardi. The fact that Spalletti's come out and said that I've actually had to try and convince this guy to put an Inter jersey on. Yeah. He's done. He's completely done. And he's completely done with the rest of the players as well. You know, there have been players in lots of dressing rooms, and I've been involved in it as well, where somebody, either a player says something or their wife says something in a line, and you sort it out. But when it goes this far, it is not getting sorted out. The only way this changes is when that guy gets out the door, because it ain't going to change until then.
How much would it affect you, what's going on now? Like, if you're at Chelsea, for example, looking for a striker, Icardi's, without a doubt, one of the best in the world.
Unfortunately, somebody's going to think that he can sort him out and his wife. Right. And they'll be good for them. But, you know... Another cliche, letters don't change the spots. Yeah. This guy will go into another dressing room, and then when things are going great, it'll be fine. As soon as it turns against him, then something will happen, and you'll have the same thing all over again.
Just to give you a quick idea of how crazy this situation has become, just a month ago, you had Wanda Nara, his wife and agent, going on Italian television, the most popular soccer television show, and the Inter CEO, Marotta, called in to personally talk to her on live television. It's a circus. It is pazza Inter, as they call it, crazy Inter times 10. I've never seen any situation like this in my life. And personally, I think Summer, he's gone.
If you were Abramovich, would you bring him in?
Kick him out.
Well, we've seen Roman Abramovich go out and spend 50 million on Fernando Torres when he was over the hill and Ancelotti didn't want him. Yep. But I think those days, as Gab Marcotti has mentioned often in here on the show recently, that the emphasis for Abramovich has changed slightly in terms of the money that they're spending. Yeah. So if he wants to spend big money, he wants to be 100% sure in what he's getting. And what he's getting with this player is a very good player, but a heck of a lot of baggage. A heck of a lot of baggage. And I don't know if Icardi realises it himself, but he is destroying his own career with the potential to go to some of the biggest clubs if he wants to move from Inter by the actions of him and, just as importantly, his wife. So he's actually destroying his own career and making life difficult for Inter Milan and his coach as well.
You're loving this, obviously, with your AC Milan ways. However,
I don't mind.
They weren't very good yesterday either.
that way and you let it go
Stevie,
that
it's
way.
It's a shocking mistake, but in the system where now the goalkeepers are expected to be outfield players, Donnarumma isn't a naturally good passer. This happens to Alisson, it happens to Ederson, to Manuel Neuer, all the top sweeper keepers.
Part of the game.
do this.
It's part of the game. All he's got to do is open
It's the same guy that defended. Where was the game? The PSG
Buffon.
game.
Yes.
You defended Buffon as well.
Absolutely.
Why?
I don't remember what he did that I defended him for, but I can defend him a little bit. That
Hold on.
The
He
system
can't
he's
pick it
in.
up.
He went
can't
like that
pick
to
it
Man
up.
United.
So the ball
There you
played
go.
back from a
There's the
defender.
goal.
The goalkeeper's not allowed to pick it up,
I
right?
get that it's a mistake. I'm saying that the system he's in makes every single goalkeeper have blunders like this with the ball at his feet. He's a goalkeeper in there, not an outfield player. We've seen it from Manuel Neuer, who's the best of the lot of doing this. So with Donnarumma, who isn't a distributor naturally,
You can't say
he'll
I'm
do
not
this.
blaming him.
But I'm blaming the system more than him.
Right.
Of course he made the mistake, but the system as well makes
So what
it
you're
makes it
saying is
easier.
goalies now should just boot it.
I'm not saying that. I like that they're playing out from the back, but
Well,
you
that's
see
what the
mistake.
system is.
Tell me a goalkeeper that hasn't made a mistake when he's playing out of the back constantly, especially against Sampdoria, one of the best pressing sides in the league.
Well, there must be one around.
Well, there wasn't.
Yeah, the ones that booted far. Maybe Shaka.
To be fair, it wasn't much of a press. He could have taken the touch, pulled his cup of tea, and then he kicks it up the field.
Okay, now,
Let's move on.
Pjanic.
Let's move on.
No penalty, right, Paul?
Keeper, innit?
Well, no, it's not. Petracca's completely useless
Is that
in
why
that
you go around with a
scenario.
piece of paper always?
Don't pretend you went to school, right? Don't pretend you even went to
You
school.
could have said ruler. Surely that would have been the go-to. Not protractor.
No.
No?
No.
Is that straight? Is that straight? That paper?
It's not even a protractor I'm talking about.
No? No.
What do you call the thing with the two pointy
Tractor
things?
has a little
compass.
curve as well.
Two pointy things, not
A
compass,
ruler.
you idiot.
A compass?
Oh,
No,
I know what he's talking about.
A ruler.
it's got 2 points in the end here.
That's the do circle, Steve.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, but why would you
Well
do that
done.
for a VAR?
Well, it's very simple. You just do that and you get this done.
More stationary talk to come on Extra Time, which is with you next.
Hey.
Welcome into Extra Time. After my 2 days off,
Still on about that.
so I missed the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer kind of what happened, the response to your viral video on it. Well, how's your notifications been since
Viral
then?
video, is that?
Well, because he said basically Solskjaer is the easy way out. That was kind of what you were suggesting.
And he was
It went
correct.
mad. Manchester United fans got very angry, and I wonder how they have reacted
Just
to
like everybody else in my time. Can't repeat.
Because we had a lot of tweets on Extra Time like, tell Craig Ollie will win the league next season.
Oh, come on, seriously.
Listen, I hardly think Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola are sitting
Yeah.
quaking in the boots. It's not, and it's never to take anything away from what he's achieved so far, but it's to say, wider picture, bigger picture. Is he the best coach out there to manage one of the biggest clubs in the world? And if your answer to that is yes, then you're a little bit blinkered to everybody else that's out there. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, lots of Man United fans. It's great. What I do now with Twitter, I'll leave it for an hour or two, or maybe even a day, and then I just double-click my notifications, and it goes straight to the latest one.
It is quite funny though. If you're bored,
I don't bother.
search Craig Burley, and just some of the insults are fantastic.
Do it every day. It's
As I was telling you earlier, I was working out mathematically. There's 7.7 billion people on
Yep.
the planet.
Right?
There's 300 million on Twitter, or give or take. 321, I looked it up. Million.
Wow.
That means there's
Been
around
busy, isn't he?
That means there's around 7.4 billion people who have absolutely no clue what people are getting mad about on Twitter.
Yep.
Irrelevant.
Yep.
See, we research on ESPN FC.
7.4 billion people.
That's the most he's ever researched for anything.
That'll be the last time I do that.
Some time on his
So
hands.
really, on the big scheme of things, when people get mad on Twitter,
Yep.
people with nothing better to do with their time,
You know
it's,
what?
it's irrelevant.
Who
in
would
the
have
whole
thought? Who
world.
would have thought a balanced point of view would come from this young
I know.
man, right?
Meanwhile,
Plus, I've
Matteo,
got a thick skin and I don't care.
did Jorginho benefit and thrive from what appears to be 2 to 3 extra seconds the slower Serie A afforded him within passing and avoiding being marked?
I think it's a mixture of that. Obviously, the Premier League is as a whole faster. It's not like the Serie A. There's this misconception that the Serie A is slow. It isn't, but it isn't as quick as the Premier League. But from what Sarri said, it's about the fact that he's with all new teammates, new league. A lot of Italians have not had a good success transferring from Serie A to the Premier League. I mean, this goes from the last 20 years or so. It's
Zola?
a difficult. Obviously, there's
Vialli?
exceptions like There's exceptions, but most of them, I can name a lot of them who haven't had the same success. Ooh. So with Jorginho, I think he's getting better, though, as the months have gone on. But yes.
Really?
He's getting a little bit better
He got the hook today because he was terrible.
No, but he's gotten a little bit. During Christmas is when he really was going down the deep end, and it didn't look like he could salvage it anymore. But I think it was a misconception as well, really quickly, about how he was perceived as a player. He's not an Andrea Pirlo, and he's not a player that is, going to fly into every challenge. He's someone who makes those easy lateral back passes, right?
Well,
but when you spend the kind of money, Chelsea did for him, I think fans and the media had a different expectation of the kind of player they were getting, which wasn't the case.
Craig, Hansen or Van Dijk?
Oh, well, I have to say, as good as Van Dijk's been, Hansen was an amazing reader of the game and footballer. And he knows better than me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's a good question. But I was brought up on watching Hansen as just this, as Stevie will tell you, after the game, he wouldn't have a bit of grass on him or have broken sweat. Yeah. And could probably have been man of the match.
He could wear the same jersey for 3 weeks, you wouldn't have noticed.
He's your man, and he's your boy. Like, you read your book and it's clear how much you love him.
I would say Van Dijk's the closest I've seen to Alan Hansen.
Wow.
And there's no question, you have to give it to Hansen because he did it for a decade. You know, Van Dijk, it's taken him, what is he, Van Dijk, 26?
Sure.
I mean, Hansen had 2 European Cup or Champions League medals in his pocket when he was 26.
Right, he's 27.
27, and he continued.
And he had bad knees as well, didn't he?
And he had bad knees as well. I mean, yeah, so Hansen for me, yes, but if Van Dijk does it for another 6-7 years, then maybe we can start a bit of an argument about the two of them.
A lot of people, and that's a very good question, but a lot of people might go the other way because there are some people out there that think football didn't exist.
Sure.
Before Premier League era or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, say, but you know, some of these guys from yesteryear were unbelievable. You just didn't see it that much. If you saw one game on TV a week, you were probably lucky.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to see the players that we get to see now because the TV deals just were not, and the accessibility was only if you went to the game.
Have you read Stevie's book?
It's on my Amazon list, actually.
So that's a no.
Wow, that's a no.
Well,
It's a no, but it's on my list. I've got I have a queue of like 10
Who are you going to read before me then?
Yeah.
Do you know
Pirlo, actually.
Hey,
no, I'm not even saying. No, I've got it on my queue. I swear, it's right
Imagine how
there.
boring that is compared to Stevie.
No, I agree, but I've got it on my queue, Stevie. I'm just waiting for the discount.
Listen, if Donnarumma wrote a book tonight, you'd go.
Yeah, exactly.
Donnarumma, how I don't suit this way of playing by passing it out at the back.
I would read it. I would
I
absolutely be
bet he's
all over
on
that.
Wayne Rooney's third autobiography as well before Mike.
Did Matt Donaldson, who I know you work with regularly, did he ever mention that he wrote Stevie's book?
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me he gets royalties from it, so he wanted me to buy the hardcover.
No, he doesn't get royalties. He gets cookies, as you could probably see. He gets lots of cookies.
I'll give you a little summary when I finish.
Hey, what's 25% of zero?
I'll get your compass
There
out.
you go. There's your royalties.
It's very
for
good
you.
though. You should, if you haven't read it, I would recommend it.
My dad.
I would recommend it as well.
Well, no, I think it's a very good.
I'm halfway through it. It's really,
You have an
it's
audiobook
good.
that you do.
I'll be really surprised.
You should come out with the audiobook, Stevie.
Hey?
You should come out with the audiobook. You have to read the entire book with your voice, and people can listen to it in the car.
Yeah. In case you didn't know what an audiobook
I do know what an audiobook is.
Well, you said, when I said
I've
audiobook.
got to be honest with you. I've got to be honest. There was a giveaway in and all that when you said audio.
Yeah, but I said
caught and gone
audiobook
what you
and
were
you
on
said,
about there.
So I have to explain it to you.
I
Anyway.
was wondering, but that gave it away.
He's not
Gave it away.
He's not that thick.
How patient should Atlanta
How did you get an audiobook with him? No, but you need a translator.
Well, listen to you. Oxford English.
I would listen to
here.
the audiobook right now.
Think you find
I
out
listen
can be
on
very
the plane.
You should have a beer a chapter, and just by chapter 12.
I'll tell you what, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? I'll tell you what, that'd be
That'd be
fantastic.
awesome.
Let's do it, seriously. Let's
That
do
would
it.
work out straight.
How patient should Atlanta United be with Frank de Boer?
Well, they've made a
That's a
decision now.
that's a tough one,
Well, they've
isn't
made a
it?
decision now, so that would come down to the GM, wouldn't it? I mean, you make a big call. Do you do you make a decision early and then thus suggesting that you yourself have made the wrong one and just cut your ties and go a separate way? I would imagine he's getting... Well, look, there's no relegation.
Yes.
It's a big talking point over here for some. To be honest, I've no real interest. Well, so it's not as if you're going to be relegated. So there's not that. You're only just not going to make the playoffs. Yeah. So you have, in essence, you should maybe get some more time. I just don't know.
He should get time, right? He was brought in because of his youth development. That was the reason why he was brought in. Why? It wasn't obviously because of the last 2 jobs he's had. At Inter, the players basically did a coup to get him out. At Crystal Palace, it didn't go any better than win a game. So the youth development...
Oh, you're really selling him.
Well, he's not doing a good job of selling himself, is he? I mean, let's be honest. You've got to question why Atlanta bring in a coach whose coaching style and philosophy is nothing like the guy they just had. Yeah. You've got a team that just won the MLS title playing a certain way. Now, good luck following Tata Martino, but at least get somebody who has the same sort of philosophy about the game and would look at it a similar way to try and continue what they were doing instead of ripping up the blueprint and starting again. It's daft.
What do you do to the blueprints thing?
Yeah, he thinks he's being clever again.
I like the way you ripped it up.
A wee daft smirk.
I like the way you ripped it up.
Followed by a wee smirk. Look at that material. See what we've got to put up with.
What?
That's why you should...
How does that to be clever all the time?
I apologise, Stephen.
I make a serious point and he just ridicules.
By the way, we saw a man in this building today smaller than you.
Really?
Yes.
No.
That'll do. I think you should leave it there.
Who is better at passing, Matteo or Donnarumma?
I'll tell you what, if we were on a 5-a-side pitch, me and Donnarumma, he would look like Maradona, okay?
Right. Are you terrible?
I'm absolutely atrocious. It's not even a competition. I'm still sticking by my guns, though, that Donnarumma, the system, does not favour him.
Right.
It looked like Madonna.
Are you saying...
particular instance.
Are you saying the system doesn't suit Donnarumma in terms of passing? Are you saying AC Milan can never, ever pass the ball back to Donnarumma?
Oh, they do it 100 times a game, but I'm saying that the top keepers, Craig, make a mistake. You've seen it, Alisson, Ederson, Neuer. They all make mistakes.
No idea.
They all make mistakes.
Yeah, but
he finally made his first mistake of the year with the ball at his feet.
So it's not the system then?
It is the system.
Well, you said it's his first mistake of the year.
Right, but the system ensures that he's going to make a mistake eventually. Every top keeper, when they're playing the sweeper-keeper role, makes a mistake.
If you're asking your defenders and your midfielders and your forwards to pass the ball constantly, then eventually somebody's going to make a mistake.
Of course, but when you're asking a goalkeeper, it's a bit different, isn't it? Because now everyone's trying to make him an outfield player, which he wasn't. He was really raw with the ball at his feet. He's gotten better, and credit to him. But I'm still going by it. Systemic issue, not him.
Listen, if the ball had been bounced into him...
Sorry, guys, it was the system.
If the ball had been bounced into him,
it was the system.
I would be sticking up for the goalkeeper saying, you know what, at the end of the day, he's a goalkeeper, and he's not supposed to be as good with his feet, right? Otherwise, he would be an outfield player. But the way the game's played now, they're expected to be at least competent.
Okay, so he should...
But if the ball had been bounced back into him, round his throat, I would understand it.
But he shouldn't be
the fact that it was
eviscerated
rolled in a perfect field, and all he has to do is open up, that he does every single day in training, by the way.
Of course. He made a mistake.
So how can you blame the system?
I acknowledge